What I wish I knew about Native American leadership at 20 instead of 40. Listen up. A Native American chief isn't just a leader, they're a servant. They prioritize their people, foster unity, and communicate openly. Armed with emotional intelligence, they empathize and act with compassion. Understanding their power source and using it ethically is key. They respect traditions, advocate fiercely, and honor their culture. It's all about service, integrity, and community. That's the essence of true Native American leadership. In many Native American cultures, a chief, a term adopted by non-Native people, is a leader of a social group, such as a band, tribe, or confederacy of tribes. The specific title or role of the leader varies greatly depending on the tribe and their traditions. For example, the Cherokee used beloved man to refer to their headman, while other tribes may have different terms like war chief or council chairman. In Iroquois culture, a chief is known as a hoyane or sachem, and they're also referred to as caretakers of the peace. The word Hoyana translates to a good man. The chiefs within the Haudenosaunee, Six Nations Confederacy, are chosen by the clan mother, not hereditarily, and represent their clan in government decisions. Tribal chief chieftain. This is a general term for a leader of a tribal society. Hereditary chief. Some tribes had chiefs who inherited their position through family lineage. Elective chief. Others elected their leaders through various methods, including tribal customs or elections. War chief. In some cultures, a war chief led the tribe in times of conflict, while other chiefs may have been responsible for civil matters. Council chairman elder. Many tribes had councils or assemblies where elders or respected individuals played a leadership role. Beloved man. This term was used by the Cherokee to refer to their headmen. Medicine man. In some cultures, politically dominant medicine men or shamans also held leadership positions. It's important to remember that Native American cultures are diverse, and the specific titles and roles of leaders vary greatly from tribe to tribe. In the Native American Muku culture, the title for a chief, or leader, is generally referred to as chief or headman. The specific term might vary slightly depending on the particular tribe or language. Some tribes also use terms like sachem or sagamore. In Maya society, the supreme ruler or chief was known as the Halak Uinik, which translates to real man in the Yucatec Maya language. They held the ultimate political, religious, and military authority over the city-state. In Aztec culture, the chief was known as the Huey Tlatoani, which translates to chief speaker or great speaker. This title was given to the leader of the Aztec Empire, specifically the city-state of Tenochtitlan. The Tlatoani was responsible for maintaining the city, overseeing rituals, and leading the military. In Maya culture, the chief was called a Halak Uinik, sometimes spelled Halak Uinik. This title, meaning true man or governor, denoted the head of a province or kingdom. Lesser lords or local chiefs were referred to as Batab. In Inca culture, the chief was known as the Sapa Inca. The Sapa Inca held absolute power over the empire, controlling politics, society, the military, and the economy. He was also considered divine, often called son of the sun, Intip Churin. In Mandinka culture, the chief or king is traditionally called a mansa. Within a village, the leader is often referred to as an alcalo, according to Teach Democracy. The mansas often belonged to important families and had the right to collect taxes from villages within their kingdom, according to Teach Democracy. A Native American chief should prioritize service to their people, fostering community through open communication and unity. They should understand their source of power and use it responsibly, sharing it with others. Furthermore, they should possess high emotional intelligence, demonstrating compassion and empathy. Native American leaders should find meaning in serving their people and setting priorities to fulfill that purpose. They must build a strong community through open communication, active listening, and fostering unity, which relies on trust and respect. Leaders should be aware of their source of power and use it ethically, avoiding abuse and empowering others. They should possess high emotional intelligence characterized by self-awareness, compassion, and an ability to understand the needs of their people. Native American leaders should prioritize the needs of their community and act as servants of the people. Understanding that time and space are viewed in a non-linear context is also important. Respect for traditional practices, values, and beliefs is crucial. In some cases, leadership may involve advocating for the rights and well-being of their people. Adhering to Native American etiquette, such as elders being honored first, is important. Native American regalia should be treated with respect and not referred to as costumes, as it often holds deep spiritual and cultural meaning. Supporting traditional foods and food systems is important for the health and well-being of the community. Understanding and respecting tribal sovereignty, where tribes have their own constitutions, laws, and governments, is essential. Recognizing that each tribe has its own unique traditions and practices is crucial. A Native American chief should know Indigenous right laws because these laws define the rights and protections granted to their tribe and its members, ensuring self-governance, land rights, treaty obligations, and other crucial aspects of tribal sovereignty. Understanding these laws is essential for effectively representing and advocating for their community, navigating interactions with federal and state governments, and upholding the unique legal framework that governs their nation. Indigenous right laws, including treaties and the Indian Civil Rights Act, ICRA, are based on the principle of tribal sovereignty, which recognizes tribes as distinct political entities with inherent rights of self-government. Treaties and other legal frameworks often address land rights, including the right to specific territories, the right to use resources within those territories, and the right to protect sacred sites. Treaties negotiated between the U.S. government and Native American tribes outline specific obligations and responsibilities, which the chief must understand to ensure the tribe's rights are upheld. Indigenous right laws empower tribes to govern themselves, including the ability to establish their own laws, courts, and systems of governance. A chief's understanding of Indigenous rights is crucial for representing their community in negotiations with federal and state governments, advocating for their interests in legal matters, and ensuring their rights are respected. The chief also plays a role in educating their community about their rights and legal protections, ensuring that members are aware of their entitlements and how to exercise them. A Native American chief should know about the U.S. government because the U.S. government has a trust relationship with tribal governments and recognizes their sovereignty. This relationship involves various rights, responsibilities, and benefits, such as access to federal funds and programs, and the ability to govern themselves. Understanding the U.S. government is crucial for tribal leaders to effectively advocate for their communities, negotiate treaties, and navigate the legal and political landscape. The U.S. government recognizes the inherent sovereignty of Native American tribes, meaning they have the right to govern themselves within their own territories. Understanding the U.S. government helps chiefs navigate the complexities of this sovereignty and protect their tribal lands and resources. The U.S. has signed numerous treaties with Native American tribes, many of which still have relevance today. Chiefs need to understand the terms of these treaties to ensure their community's rights and protections are upheld. The U.S. government provides various programs and funding opportunities for tribal communities, including healthcare, education, and economic development. Chiefs need to be aware of these resources and how to access them to benefit their communities. Chiefs often represent their tribes in government meetings and negotiations. Understanding the U.S. government's structures and processes is crucial for effective advocacy and representation of tribal interests. Legal and political landscape. The U.S. government's policies and laws can significantly impact tribal communities. Chiefs need to understand the legal and political landscape to protect their community's rights and interests. The U.S. government holds land in trust for Native American tribes, meaning it has a responsibility to protect and manage these lands. Chiefs need to understand this trust relationship and advocate for responsible management of these resources. A Native American chief should understand that their government operates in a unique, dual system, with both inherent sovereignty and a relationship with the U.S. government. They should be familiar with tribal constitutions, treaty rights, and the federal trust responsibility. 1. Tribal sovereignty and self-government. Native American tribes have the inherent right to govern themselves. They can create and enforce laws, which may differ from state or federal laws. Many tribes have constitutions and elected officials, mirroring the three branches of government: executive, legislative, and judicial. 2. Relationship with the U.S. government. The U.S. government has a government-to-government relationship with federally recognized tribes. This relationship includes a federal trust responsibility, where the U.S. has a duty to protect tribal lands, resources, and treaty rights. The U.S. also provides services to tribes, such as funding for education, health, and economic development. 3. Key areas of knowledge. Treaties. Understanding the history, terms, and ongoing relevance of treaties with the U.S. is crucial. Familiarity with the tribe's own constitution and laws is essential. Federal Indian law. Knowledge of federal laws and regulations pertaining to Native Americans and tribes is vital. Bureau of Indian Affairs, BIA. Understanding the role and function of the BIA as a government agency that interacts with tribes. Intertribal relations. Understanding the relationships with other tribes and the importance of intertribal cooperation. State and local governments. Knowledge of how to interact with state and local governments, including potential cooperation and conflicts. 1. Responsibilities of a chief, representing the tribe. The chief acts as the representative of the tribe in negotiations with other governments and organizations. Promoting tribal interests. The chief should advocate for the tribe's needs and interests, including land, resources, and self-determination. Ensuring tribal well-being. The chief should work to improve the overall health, education, and economic conditions of the tribe's members. Maintaining tribal traditions and culture. The chief plays a role in preserving and promoting the tribe's unique culture and traditions. A Native American chief should know about treaties because they are binding agreements between tribes and the United States, outlining the rights and responsibilities of both parties. Treaties are crucial for understanding the tribe's land rights, resource management, and cultural preservation, all of which are essential for leadership and tribal governance. Here's why a chief should know about treaties. Understanding tribal sovereignty. Treaties affirm the inherent sovereignty of Native American nations, enabling them to maintain a nation-to-nation relationship with the United States, manage their resources, and protect their people. Protecting tribal rights. Treaties guarantee specific rights, such as land boundaries, hunting and fishing rights, and peace guarantees. A chief needs to understand these rights to effectively advocate for their tribe's interests. Maintaining tribal culture and identity. Many treaty rights hold deep spiritual and social significance for Native American tribes, helping to maintain their connection to ancestral lands and their identity. Ensuring future generations. Treaty rights are often passed down to future generations, ensuring the preservation of tribal lands and lifeways. Navigating legal and political landscape. Chiefs often need to navigate complex legal and political issues, and a strong understanding of treaty rights is essential for effectively representing their tribe. Fostering trust and understanding. Treaties establish a trust relationship between the federal government and tribal nations. A chief's knowledge of treaties helps to foster this trust and understanding between both parties. Honoring ancestral agreements. Treaties represent the culmination of negotiations between tribal leaders and government officials, and knowing the terms of these agreements is essential for honoring ancestral agreements and ensuring the continued well-being of the tribe. A Native American chief should know land rights because land is fundamental to the cultural, spiritual, and economic well-being of their community. Land rights are crucial for self-determination, preserving cultural identity, and ensuring the long-term sustainability of their way of life, according to Wikipedia. Understanding land rights empowers chiefs to protect their community's resources, negotiate with governments, and advocate for their people's interests, according to Indian law, cultural, and spiritual significance. Land is often considered sacred and is deeply intertwined with Native American cultural practices, religious beliefs, and ancestral ties. Understanding land rights is essential to protect sacred sites, burial grounds, and other areas of cultural importance. Economic well-being. Land provides access to resources like timber, water, and minerals, which are crucial for economic development and livelihood. Chiefs must understand land rights to protect these resources and ensure equitable access for their community. Land rights are essential for self-governance and the ability of Native American communities to make decisions about their own territories and resources free from external interference. Negotiation and advocacy. Chiefs need to understand the complexities of land law and treaties to effectively negotiate with governments, protect their community's interests, and advocate for their rights. Protection of resources and environment. Land rights help protect the environment and natural resources that are essential for the long-term sustainability of Native American communities. Most federally recognized tribes are organized under the Indian Reorganization Act, IRA, of 1934, 25 U.S.C. 461 et seq., including a number of Alaska Native villages, which adopted formal governing documents under the provisions of a 1936 amendment to the IRA. The passage in 1971 of the Alaska Native Claims Settlement Act, 43 U.S.C. 1601, however, provided for the creation of regional and village corporations under state law to manage the money and lands granted to Alaska Natives by the act. The Oklahoma Indian Welfare Act of 1936 provided for the organization of Indian tribes within the state of Oklahoma. Many tribes have constitutions, others operate under Articles of Association or other bodies of law, and some have found a way to combine their traditional systems of government within a modern governmental framework. Some do not operate under any of these acts but are nevertheless organized under documents approved by the Secretary of the Interior. Contemporary tribal governments are usually, but not always, modeled upon the federal system of the three branches: legislative, executive, and judicial. The chief executive of a tribe is usually called a chairman, chairwoman, or chairperson, but may also be called a principal chief, governor, president, mayor, spokesperson, or representative. The chief executive presides over the tribe's legislative body and executive branch. In modern tribal government, the chief executive and members of the tribal council or business committee are almost always elected. A tribe's legislative body is usually called a tribal council, a village council, or a tribal business committee. It is comprised of tribal members who are elected by eligible tribal voters. In some tribes, the council is comprised of all eligible adult tribal members. Although some tribes require a referendum by their members to enact laws, a tribal council generally acts as any other legislative body in creating laws, authorizing expenditures, appropriating funds, and conducting oversight of activities carried out by the chief executive and tribal government employees. An elected tribal council and chief executive, recognized as such by the Secretary of the Interior, have authority to speak and act for the tribe as a whole, and to represent it in negotiations with federal, state, and local governments. Furthermore, many tribes have established or are building their judicial branch, the tribal court system, to interpret tribal laws and administer justice. Government policy toward Native Americans. A map of the United States of America, 1783. The American Revolution and its era, 1750 to 1789. In 1776, the Continental Congress appointed a committee to develop a plan for a central government. Shortly thereafter, the Articles of Confederation were written, and a union of states called the United States of America came into being. A Native American chief should know their tribe's federal number because it's a key identifier for accessing federal resources, benefits, and protections, and demonstrating the tribe's government-to-government relationship with the U.S. The federal number signifies the tribe's recognition as a distinct political entity with inherent rights of self-governance, according to the Bureau of Indian Affairs. Here's a more detailed explanation. Federal recognition and benefits. Federally recognized tribes have a special relationship with the U.S. government, allowing them access to funding, services, and protections provided by the Bureau of Indian Affairs and other agencies, according to the Department of Justice. Tribal sovereignty. Federal recognition is a cornerstone of tribal sovereignty, which means the tribe has the right to govern itself and make decisions about its own affairs. Legal standing. The federal number helps demonstrate the tribe's political existence and allows them to engage with the U.S. government in a government-to-government relationship. Land rights and trust responsibilities. The federal number can be important when asserting land rights, accessing federal trust funds, and ensuring the fulfillment of federal trust responsibilities, according to the U.S. Department of the Interior.gov. Access to federal services. The federal number is often required when applying for federal grants, contracts, and other programs. Now keep in mind, not every chief do business with the USA Corps, so they wouldn't have a federal tribal number. They are considered outlaw chief by the government. Under the Articles of Confederation, the newly developed central government was required to share power with the states. Among the powers given over to the central government were making war and peace, conducting diplomatic relations, requisitioning men and money from the states, coining and borrowing money, and regulating Indian affairs. The states were responsible for enforcing laws, regulating commerce, administering justice, and levying taxes. During the mid-1780s, the Confederation Congress was particularly attentive to problems in the Northwest Territory, an area of land located between the 13 states and the Mississippi River. Thousands of settlers had moved into the area by 1780, however they were not the first settlers. Living on the land were numerous nations of Native Americans. The Congress spent a good deal of time and effort developing policies to keep peace between the white settlers and the Native Americans. Treaties. The appointment of government agents and superintendents to serve as intermediaries between Native Americans and the government, and raising and arming troops to put down insurrections, are examples of strategies the Confederation Congress used to maintain peace, meet the needs of the Native Americans, and open the area for further settlement. To find additional documents relating to these topics in loc.gov, use such keywords as Indians of North America, Indian treaties, laws, United States, and the names of specific Indian tribes, for example, Cherokee, Creek, or Choctaw. The Dawes Act of 1887 sought to assimilate Native Americans by, among other things, transforming their traditional uses and attitudes about land and land ownership to more mainstream American values of private ownership and settled farming. Some Native Americans did become farmers, convinced that assimilation into white society and a property deed were their only protection against those who would rob them of their lands. Others rejected the white man's world of markets, deeds, schools, and Christianity. Encouraging resistance, they deemed the government's allotment strategy a conspiracy to destroy tribal culture and organization. I wish all to know that I do not propose to sell any part of my country, nor will I have whites cutting our timber along the rivers, more especially the bark. I am particularly fond of the little groves of oak trees. I love to look at them, because they endure the wintry storm and the summer's heat, and not unlike ourselves, seem to flourish by them. Sitting Bull, Lakota warrior, quoted in 1932. Our land is more valuable than your money. It will last forever. It will not even perish by the flames of fire. As long as the sun shines and the waters flow, this land will be here to give life to men and animals. We cannot sell the lives of men and animals, therefore we cannot sell this land. It was put here for us by the Great Spirit, and we cannot sell it because it does not belong to us. You can count your money and burn it within the knot of a buffalo's head, but only the Great Spirit can count the grains of sand and the blades of grass of these plains. As a present to you we will give you anything we have that you can take with you, but the land, never. Crowfoot, Chief of the Blackfeet, circa 1885. You ask me to plow the ground. Shall I take a knife and tear my mother's bosom? You ask me to cut grass and make hay and sell it and be rich like white men. But dare I cut off my mother's hair? Anonymous, Native America, circa 1880s. From a Native American perspective, the initial intentions of Europeans were not always immediately clear. Some indigenous communities were approached with respect and in turn greeted the odd-looking visitors as guests. For many indigenous nations, however, the first impressions of Europeans were characterized by violent acts including raiding, murder, rape, and kidnapping. Perhaps the only broad generalization possible for the cross-cultural interactions of this time and place is that every group, whether indigenous or colonizer, elite or common, female or male, elder or child, responded based on their past experiences, their cultural expectations, and their immediate circumstances.